Oh, and, good morning. Not that I don't take mine.
Frankly, I'm confident I have a share. Little Powerball first, okay?
Just be mindful, don't be like Kenny Kraft. There is an alarm underneath.
Yeah, but you got it. It's buried, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Of course, that would be something.
Yes, please.
We talked about the hospital.
Okay.
What's Kenny doing at the
No, we're
audience?
going to speak on this.
Making sure we do everything okay.
I'm gonna steal this. Oh, I was gonna say steal, I guess, in the courthouse, but abscond.
Abscond would be fine. Okay. Well, he's sitting on the side of the side. Okay. It's expected, and expected they're all going to be talking to us about the bridges. We had to bridge superintendent to discuss what bridges that they want to start taking off and shouldn't be. So we'll get to those later on in the business. Sarah Cassie.
Tiger stripe.
All right, we are recording, so.
Yes, this one.
Uh,
Tell him that
Frank,
right now.
we are recording at this point, so we can start the meeting at any time.
Are we on?
I'd like to call the meeting to order, please. Take a roll call. Mark Chabone.
Here.
Present by phone. Frank Pittibone.
Here.
Paul Anthony.
Here.
Laurie Hefner.
Here.
Charles Derninger.
Here.
From the staff, I'm Dave Hughes, Tina Smith, Mark Hartney, and Sarah Ortiz. The first order of business would be the election of a chairman pro tem. Based on the bylaws number 7, the chairman shall preside at all meetings. In his absence, the vice chair shall preside. In the absence of the chairman and the vice chairman, the board shall elect a chairman pro tem. So that's what the board will need to do. And that will be needed to be done between Paul, Frank, and Mark.
All right, I nominate Frank. Mr. Pittibone.
Second the motion.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Frank, congratulations.
Thank you.
It's now your meeting.
All right. Number 30. Can I have a motion to appoint King Spry as the interim solicitor?
So moved.
Second,
I'll second that.
discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Freund, would you like to come forward? Oh, something about a smile?
Let me see.
No, not yet.
No. I see a smile. You can't sit up here.
Just don't take
She wants to see a smile.
She wanted you to smile.
There you go. He's in.
I'll take off the seat.
Now you
Number
can grimace at
40.
everybody else.
Can I have a motion to accept resignations?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
discussion.
Those are just so everyone knows, those are the resignation of Sean Donahue and Sean Langan.
No discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Number 5, welcome of new board members. What do you want to do there?
Just to introduce them,
Introduce them?
because they've been approved by county council.
All right. We have Mr. Charles Dertinger and Ms. Lori Vargo Hefner.
And just so they know, the members that they're replacing, Mr. Derninger's term will run to 12/31/2021, and Laurie's will run to 12/31/2020, because they're replacing the current members that had resigned, and you actually assume their terms.
Okay, thank you.
Number 6, election of officers. Can I have a motion or, yes, can someone make an appointment for chair?
I'd like to make a nomination for Mr. Paul Anthony to be chair.
Have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations, Mr. Anthony.
Frank, you did a fantastic
Thank
job.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah, good job. It was the best meeting I've ever
Thank you.
had.
So now we have a new shorter. We have the shortest member, Mr. McClure,
And the shortest chair.
All right, approval of minutes from the June 5th meeting and also the June 18th.
Before you move,
Wait.
Paul, before
that's
you,
more
Oh,
officers.
more officers.
Have to fill the clubhouse.
Oh, man, I got to fill the clubhouse. I need a motion to appoint the vice chair, please.
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Well,
Wait,
as
wait,
vice chair,
make a motion.
as vice chair, who would you like to
Who would you like?
make
We
a
need a vice
nomination
chair.
for?
Always choosing strong. Do you want to be vice chair? Sure. Okay.
He's got more experience than us.
All right. Was that a motion?
I motion to approve Frank Vinavone as vice
All
chair.
right, is there a second?
I would second.
All right. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I didn't hear you, Frank.
Thank you. Yes,
All right. We need to do every officer.
you need to have the two new members appointed to a position, whether or not they assume the positions that were previously held by the resigned members.
And to be clear, which are those positions? that-
One member you're going to need is a treasurer, because that's what Donahue was. He was the treasurer, so you'll need a treasurer. You've already done the vice chair. Peg Ferraro was a second assistant secretary and a second assistant treasurer.
No, I'd like to make a motion as Ms. Vargo Hefner is a member of the governing body and the purse strings of the county. I think no one better would be the treasurer than Ms. Vargo Hefner.
Second.
Didn't even get a chance on that one, did you?
Questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Congratulations, Lori.
Thanks.
I need a secretary. Lori.
I move that Charles Dertinger.
Well, wait a minute, I believe we have a secretary.
I'll do it.
We need this.
It was Frank.
It was.
Oh, it was Frank, okay.
I second Mr. Dertinger.
Questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right.
Then I make a motion that Mr. Chavon act as assisting treasurer and secretary, since he's the last person left to do those assumption jobs.
Second.
Questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Congratulations, Mr. Chabon.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
I get the title, but no responsibility. That's the best.
All right, here's the minutes. All right, approval of minutes from the June 5th meeting and also the June 18th meeting. I think we had the minutes last
All
week.
right, I had some amendments. Wait, I had some amendments, possibly. So give me a second.
We got a motion and a second, right? And then go to discussion.
Anybody can have
Do we
questions?
amend after? I just have some, all right.
We just need a second and then we go to discussion.
I'll second for the purpose of discussion.
Questions on the motion?
Just some possible amendments. First of all, on page 7, Mr. McGee's name is spelled wrong. And there was a comment made, let me find it. On page 10, my name's hyphenated, it's not, and it said, I asked why the GPA wouldn't come to a meeting, and I did not do that. So I'd like that stricken from the record. They asked if I had any questions, and I said, yes, come to a council meeting and I would ask them. So that's an incorrect record. Oh, 8 of 10, sorry, I'm looking at the bottom of the other page, 8 of 10. Under number 8.3,
Mhm.
and that's on June 5th.
Are there any other corrections?
Hold
to the
on one
minutes?
second. I want to look at the phone call one. And again, I don't know if this is picayune or not, but I know that there was a discussion in the phone call minutes of the fact that they had agreed to come to our meeting, and that was not an accurate representation of the discussion. So I don't know if you want that stricken, or if you want to just leave it as it is.
Where are you at with that one, Lori?
I think it's on page 15. I think you just review that, because most of us weren't listening to that.
Yeah, unfortunately, I had to leave that call. I wasn't able to complete that call. Frank, do you have recollection?
Well, most of the discussion was around not attending, and then it did circle back to attending.
All right, so then I'll leave that as it is, because it does state in one point that he said he wasn't coming. I just didn't want it reflected that they were in agreement to coming, because they were not. And I didn't want the record to reflect that, so.
Any other corrections to the minutes? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Passes. Thank you. Treasurer's report.
Can I waive that, since I didn't know I was treasurer?
Mr.
Well,
Hughes
I
can fill in
think
for you.
Mr. Hughes can.
Okay.
Will give us.
You want to fill, you want to do my report?
As I provide every meeting, it's a listing of all the accounts. We do a comparison between last year and this year. As of now, plus I give you a detailed report of each account. Most of the time, most of the accounts, the only activity you'll see is interest being posted to the account. Probably the only account that probably sees activity is the checking account. Sometimes the money market because of deposits coming in, similar to like Coke, which is $482.80 is their monthly payment. Currently, as of the end of June, total cash in the accounts was $2,875,430.69. There was also.
Could you repeat that again? Sorry,
So
two.
that would be before.
Or where's that number?
Yeah, that's fine.
Total checking.
Okay, thank you.
And then there's the accompanying P&L. Most of the income you'll see in the revenue was originally probably through the P3 account. You'll still see some of that relative to insurance fees, trigger, vanish. Those bills actually go through the county. The county submits a check to the GPA. We deposit the check and then we pay the invoices. Any question? And the one account, you'll see Hospital Authority, it's not really a GPA account, but it's the one authority that still has a balance in it. So I basically put that on so that the board is aware
Look up.
that monies are actually sitting there,
He
there's
was-
no restrictions.
well, we're sitting
And
there
at some point
smiling.
down the road, the
Yeah.
Hospital Authority will have to decide what they do with those funds, whether or not they utilize them, put them out somewhere, or they combine them with the GPA. The two authorities, the Hospital Authority and the Higher Education Authority, are currently inactive relative to the state.
So they're inactive.
They're inactive, yes.
Okay.
And the higher ed account has no,
No, no
Funds.
funds. No.
Hmm.
The only one is the Hospital Authority.
but it doesn't have any business at this time?
No. It's an inactive account.
Yeah, I
An
believe.
inactive authority.
Right, I believe this was referenced on Thursday night as a zombie authority and by one of the council members, and I know that there's been discussion of this in the past, but I probably do need to bring this to a,
It's something the board had looked at previously, and they were looking for some type of an opinion from the solicitor, and there was a lot back and forth as to what should happen. They elected not to actually abolish either one of those two authorities because the potential of down the road having bank-qualified bonds, which is limited to $10 million a year, that would give the opportunity to actually have three, including the GPA, the higher ed, and the hospital authority, where if in fact there was a need to do $30 million and bank qualified, they could do it. So that's why they didn't actually disband those authorities. But there's really been no appetite for bank qualified because of interest rates where they are.
right, and
You have to,
We're still discussing. Now, I have a question here on the attachment, David. Is that an Excel spreadsheet for a check registry, or
No, that's actually through QuickBooks.
that's just QuickBooks?
Right.
Okay.
David, I have a question. I'm sorry if I missed this in your discussion, but on the profit and loss statement, January through June 2018, what is the $350,000 transferred to operating account?
That was money that came out of the one SIP account to fund the loan that we're making to Rising Tide.
Oh, that was for the Rising Tide?
Yes, that was the loan that was approved to Rising Tide. That loan is actually going to be $350,000. There's an existing $50,000 loan which we're going to combine to make for a total of $350,000.
Yep, okay.
And we're
All
just
right,
waiting for CACLB and Rising Tide to get back the paperwork that we need to close the loan.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion?
No.
Questions? You need a motion?
I can't, it's my report.
Motion to accept.
Thank you, Frank. And second?
Second.
Thank you, Charles. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Passes. Thank you, unanimous. Invoices for payment, which would be 8.2.
You have it in your packet, a listing of all the invoices for payment. I think bills are some kind of self-explanatory. I would imagine the one series of bills, probably Norris McLaughlin, are probably subject to discussion. I tried to break them down by right-to-know request, P3 project, county P3 processing, and business matters. Business matters being any things that are done relative to the GPA, and business matters relative to the GPA has nothing to do with P3.
So when it says county P3 proceedings, what does that refer to, as opposed to the P3
I think that
project?
refers to the proceedings between the county and the GPA relative to the whole P3 process. And again, you have to understand, DCED has not been involved.
Right. And
So
you're not an arbiter of this, just.
No, I'm
asking
just
this-
asking for
I'm not, by
Well-
no means.
As there was no meeting in July.
Correct.
For us to take this up, and some of these date back quite some time. To say that this was not billed in a due and timely notice would be,
But just so you're aware, I mean, the bills, all the bills relative to P3 had been submitted to the county, and the county, as far as I know, elected not to pay them. I was instructed by Sean Langan before he resigned to include all of Norris McLaughlin's bills relative to business matters P3 proceedings for this meeting. So that's what I did.
all right. At this point then, with having just received this and wanting to give this a little bit more scrutiny, I make a motion to table these
Second.
bills.
I agree. Motion to table this till,
Be the next meeting,
okay,
September,
okay.
September 11th.
Or about to say, or until we take it off the table.
All right, so there's a motion to table this, the invoices, current invoices. There was a second. All those in favor? Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Thank you.
And can we also get some background and data on the Conrad O'Brien bills as well? Is there somewhere in here exactly what they're billing for?
I can give you the original engagement letter.
Okay,
I can send that to everyone.
thank you.
Okay, let me make some comments on here. I've kind of looked through some of this. And I'm just trying to understand everything, obviously.
Can I just get one clarification?
Please.
When you say tabling the invoices.
Tabling the
are you talking
invoices for
about all of
Norris,
them?
the invoices for Norris McLaughlin.
Okay, that's, just wanted to know, thank you.
I didn't want to make Mark so nervous. Well, we haven't. And the invoices, and now, as we're going down through the stack, the invoices for Conrad O'Brien, I think, should also be
I agree.
considered until such time, so I'd like to make a separate and second motion to table those
Second.
for Conrad O'Brien specific.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any questions on the motion? Call for
And
question.
I will send out the engagement letter,
Thank you.
so everybody has it.
All those in favor of tabling?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. But we're okay with the audit services, the administrative services, and the special meeting.
Yes. So do you need a motion to approve?
Yeah, we'll do that. All right.
Motion to approve the Riley, DCED, and NJ Advanced Media for payment.
Second. Thank you, Frank.
And that would meet the remaining, okay.
Questions on that motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Passes.
And then
So-
also included in the packet is a listing of all the invoices that have been paid up to, I think it was like June 15th. Just so that way you get a running total and can see what we've done throughout the year.
Very much appreciated.
Let me just make some comments on Norse McLaughlin. I'm kind of just trying to understand everything. On page 36 of 123. The solicitor traveled to Grantville, PA with Jay Brown, Rugis, Durkin to meet with some other people. Where's Grantville at? Help me out.
That's right by Hershey.
Yeah,
Okay, so they were traveling probably to discuss the P3, I'm assuming, because we got charged for that.
I would, again, I don't know.
All right. And to get clarification, we have to come from the past solicitor. I'm assuming. We got charged $1,622 for that.
What date was that?
It's on
12/18.
Page 36.
12, 18, 17?
I don't know, usually Granville only takes me about a quarter tank of gas.
Well, I'm just kind of curious what the meeting was for. Because there's also another meeting that we weren't charged for on page 37 where solicitor traveled to DC on
What
the
number?
3rd of January, but he didn't charge us for that. Yeah, on the 3rd. There's no charge. I'm just kind of curious why our solicitor was traveling to DC. He wasn't marketing P3, was he?
No, from what I understand, there was a lot of discussions. The only thing that I was told was that they did not market it.
I've heard that before.
I understand. I'm just telling you what I heard.
I think it's just a little disingenuous.
Well, and that I actually attended the P3 meeting in Harrisburg, and
Right.
they were, in fact, marketing. So,
So are we paying by the minute? No, and I know that sounds foolish, but I'm looking on 12/5/17, .20, $59 for a telephone conference with S. Rugas.
I believe that's how most attorneys
Is that they
bill.
do, but we bill by the minute?
Well, it's actually usually 10-minute increments.
but about to say increment, yeah.
Right.
There's other things I have questions too on that, Lori, like, there was a conference call, we get charged for the conference call, for that bridge. That's just the cost of doing business. Yeah, that's my opinion. It's the cost
Yeah,
of doing.
well, I think that's why it was important to table
I
this.
don't
and-
know if at some point the board wants to do and try to find or do some type of audit on the bills.
Yeah.
That would obviously be the board's decision, but I can't validate, but
Can we ask the solicitor?
Well, it might be important to have the solicitor or another set of eyes look at this from the same trade, rather than us discuss it.
I think that would be appropriate.
I'll look at the money quickly.
Thank you. And I have one other comment about the phone calls between Benish and the solicitor, and I know Greg will be up later. Just seems to be an inordinate amount of phone calls between Benish and Lucius. There were some issues about prevailing wage issues. That's on page 63. There must have been a discussion on that. We didn't see any documentation on that. That would have been on 5/7, regarding the status and prevailing wage. So hopefully Greg can help us out on that one. On page 76, and just is for my Myself again, talks about limited contributions. Page 76 now. I don't have this marked up, sorry.
What number?
On page 76, I need to,
Which, what's
yeah,
on?
no, I'm trying to find it.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I didn't mark these up.
Oh, that would have been on 511, $450 conversation.
Too
Right, but what's the background on limited contributions? I guess I just need some clarification on that, but if our solicitor's gonna look into that, maybe you can shed some light on it later.
I don't know what that means.
Right, I'm just saying,
Yes.
we can just look at that.
Okay.
All right.
I made a note of each thing you've raised, so.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Let me just ask the solicitor, if there's anything you need relative to any bills, just let me know. Because I have records of all of them, so.
We can discuss that after.
You got a free meeting.
Pardon?
You got a free meeting on 517. That's
I
nice.
did, yes, I did meet with Mr. Lucius.
Need to know what was discussed?
All right.
All right, we okay with all the invoices? All right, so 9.0 is a Lafayette College presentation. There's somebody here from Lafayette College?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Craig Becker, the Associate Vice President, Finance and Business. We seek to refinance our 2008 series bonds in an amount not to exceed $22 million. The 2008 bonds were also refinanced in May of 2017. This will completely defease the remaining balance of the 2008 bonds. The 2008 bonds had refinanced our series 1997 and 2004, and we seek to go to market in mid-September. And that's the extent of my presentation, if you have any questions.
Not even a picture?
I have some, I was just in Florida, I have some of my kids.
Fantastic. We'll talk after.
We appreciate the brevity. Thank you. Any questions?
None.
Oh,
The board does need to take a vote.
Just
Let me use
so
the
the whole
resolution.
template here.
Yeah.
Was there a notice?
Yes.
There's been new.
Yeah, there's an affidavit.
Yeah, there's been new amendments on the notice, to make sure that everything's in there.
Okay, yeah, I've got it. And we're doing the template here under the
No, I certainly support that.
good. All right. Somebody like to make that motion, please?
So moved.
Second. Oh.
All right, the motion's on the floor for the bond resolution dated August 7th, 2018. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other business? All right, it's time for public comment. I have Mr. David Leggett.
Good morning.
Morning, Mr.
Good
Leggett.
morning.
Welcome to everybody. We all probably have the same amount of GPA experience now. I'm here representing the Lower Mount Bethel Township Bridge Group that represents about 1/6 of your P3 project. That's now your P3 project. I have a couple of things that I'd like to ask first. Too many pieces of paper. And I think the first question is going to be answered when you move down to your agenda item 11.2. I was wondering who was going to be the authorized representative. I guess I should wait till that happens as we move forward. And then the next question is, I understand you had some sort of a meeting in between. I'm wondering whether or not you have issued any of the change orders relative to any of the bridges on Little Creek Road yet.
No. No. There
No.
hasn't been a GPA meeting
Excellent.
for quite some time.
On July 16th, I met with Mr. Dertinger and Executive McClure and a whole bunch of other people in reference to these bridges. And we found out that the decision had been made to attempt to remove 3 of the 5 bridges in question on Little Creek Road from the project. Hasn't happened yet, but we very much appreciate the consideration to do that. The problems that we have going forward as a township and as a group, and my township supervisor is here to address some of that after I do, is that the engineering analysis that was done that put these bridges into the P3 project in the first place is in question, as well as the effects of this road being part of the Pennsylvania Scenic Byway and the type of bridges that are going to be done there. And to make a very long story short, I addressed Mr. Dertinger and Mr. McClure in a letter on the 17th of July and have not gotten a response. So downstream of that, we have talked to Lower Mount Bethel Township engineer Justin Coyle, PennDOT Bridge Inspector and Engineer Jason Snyder, and we have a consensus amongst all of us that some additional items need to be addressed in these change orders as you go forward. And it's now hopefully going to be relatively easy to do this stuff now because you guys are in control of the GPA and we can iron this stuff out. But as the 3 bridges that we want to address are first, Bridge 195 that's slated for replacement, and we are not challenging the need for the replacement of that bridge, but we want to make certain that it stays a 1-lane bridge, which is allowed under the PennDOT rules, as verified by PennDOT, and that the design portion of this be done in a context-sensitive way, keeping with the Pennsylvania Byway. And the difficulty with that is the contracts that you have say that all the design criteria are done by the developer. So we have a contractual problem to address there, and I'm not exactly sure how to do that. I'm sure the solicitor will help us in that. But that needs to be done because we're Pennsylvania Scenic Byway, and we don't want to lose the character of this cherished little community. The second issue is that now that and this is taking into consideration that the efforts of Mr. Dertinger and Mr. McClure to remove 3 of those bridges from the P3 project are successful, that in addition to the one other bridge that was removed at the last meeting, we've now removed 4 of the 33 bridges from the P3 project. And we have a bridge in our township, Bridge 31, that is closed, has a sufficiency rating of 21, and Mr. McClure had suggested that that bridge be put into a TIP project and done in a different way, not be added to the P3. The problem with that is that on a fast track with the TIP, from everyone that I've talked to, that's going to be a 3 to 5 year process at best. And this bridge has been a problem first noted in the records of the county and the township in 2011, and it is the emergency access for the power plant and for the secondary emergency access in case the Belvedere Highway is closed, and it's the same for our boat ramp, adding 15 minutes to response times in case there's a problem down there. And we feel that the bridge being closed for 5 to 7 years, when if it was added back into the P3 or if it was added to the P3 project, that this could be done in a very timely fashion, helping the township considerably. The third item is is Bridge 41, which, in issue of full disclosure, is my front yard, and also the front yard of two of the other people that are here today. There is a significant discrepancy in the engineering analysis between what is in the P3 project on Exhibit C, Section 3. We show this in the P3 project as a sufficiency rating of 45.7, where the December of 17 analysis by PennDOT shows the sufficiency rating of that bridge at 71. And to have a bridge with a 71 sufficiency rating seems a little unneeded, to be as kind as I can. And the overall context of this is that if, and I've been involved in a few of these things, one with Lafayette College, where if you have conflicting science, you need more science. And if, in fact, new information comes forward that says this bridge really does need to be replaced, I'm not objecting to it, but it seems with the other needs of the community that to replace a bridge that has a sufficiency rating significantly higher than neither the state or the community requires the bridge to be replaced unless it drops below 50 seems like a huge waste of money. So to review, what the requests are is that the Bridge 195 be left as a one-lane bridge and context sensitive. Bridge 31 be added to the P3 project to help balance the whole project and have that bridge replaced. And then Bridge 41 be changed from replacement to context sensitive repair as necessary. And I think that concludes my presentation. Any questions?
Any questions?
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Leggett.
Thank you very much.
Sandra Newman?
Good morning, everyone.
Hey, good morning.
And
morning.
welcome to the two new GPA members. And thank you, Randy. That was an excellent summary of where we stand. I will just pass out this, and if you want to briefly review it, then we can go forward.
Let's try to take care of this.
In the interest of keeping this brief, I will just say that at last night's supervisor meeting, we had to review this for the public as well. We had a unanimous vote in support of the removal of Bridge 185, 43, and 44 from the P3 project, as we discussed on 7/16 with Executive McClure, Charles Dertinger, and Michael Amelli. And we would kindly request that you consider adding Bridge 31 to the P3 project. We understand that 195 has a sufficiency rating of, 4, I think it is. And we have no problem with that staying in the P3 plan. It needs to be replaced, but we would request that it is done with contextual sensitive design and that it stays a one-lane bridge, as Randy mentioned. And also that we address the issue with Bridge 41. We need some more engineering work done on that because the ratings are very different. So the supervisors are in unanimous support of these 3 action steps, and we will assist you in any way we can with any kind of documentation or history about the issues we've been dealing with, especially with Bridge 31 since 2013. And that was just closed, I think, June 26th. I will add one thing. I sit on the Planning Commission as well, and Interstate Energy Corporation has come before the Planning Commission requesting a lot line adjustment on their property, which is now Talon. That's where the big tank farms are and the power plant is, right along the river. Since they have applied for the lot line adjustment, we've learned of plans for them to do a major expansion. And we're trying to get information now from the authorities involved in that, because it's dealing with regulations in energy. We don't have a full understanding of what that expansion is going to be, but that's in the area of Bridge 31. So we need to take that into consideration going forward. If they're going to be doing major renovation and work that will increase the energy supply, we need them to have access, and we need to have access in case of emergencies. So I thank you for your consideration, and please let the township know how we can help move this ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Michelle Zuka? Zoka? Zoka? Oh, Michelle.
Hi,
Hey, good morning.
my name's Michelle. I live on Little Creek Road, and we have worked so hard for a really long time to keep our township as good as it is. Okay, it's beautiful, you know that. Beginning with years ago, we raised our EIT to go into a fund to preserve open space, and it's one of the gems left in our county. Therefore, it became a scenic byway. I think in and around 2011, the county supported our corridor management plan, both conceptually and financially. We're working to figure out exactly how much. So, with that being said, it would be logical to assume that the county heed our corridor management plan. I know you're all different people than in 2011, but the corridor management plan gave way to the scenic byway, which runs along Little Creek Road. No cookie cutter. We understand that the bridges need to be repaired, but some of the design has been referred to, well, by me as cookie cutter, by others as Lego-like. It's easy, okay? They have their concrete barriers, they put it in place. It does not fit with the scenic byway nor the corridor management plan. So, once again, we are asking you that context-sensitive design and limited environmental impact because of that creek, it is a high-quality trout fishery, be paramount. Not just an, oh yeah, we have to figure that out. You know, that's what we're looking for as number one. And then how can we fit repair and or replacement in within this, regardless of Krieger's intentions or desires. We're basically pleading with you. And then finally, after we've done our presentation, what are you going to do? What's the next step? That's what I want to leave here with. What's the next step? What should we do? Anybody?
So I think Mr. Leggett kind of hit it on the head. He has more experience with the GPA than some of us up here, including myself. So we are going to appoint an authorized representative.
An authorized
It's
representative
for the P3.
For the P3.
Right, for the P3.
So we should then get in contact with that person.
Yes. Now what will happen is this board obviously it's a little different makeup here now than
Right.
a few months ago. So I think there'll be a lot more cooperation and coordination.
Coordination, that's a good word,
Mhm.
yeah. So we have to wait for that person, get in contact with that authorized representative. How
Yeah.
about county council?
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to speak for Lori. But,
If I may, we do have the bridge superintendent here today, and to speak to the two other bridges along that road, I'm going to ask the chairman to allow him to explain where we were and how we have gotten here today. When we did meet, we didn't have an opportunity to have Tom in at the meeting. In the very onset, in discussions about this, Mr. McClure and Mr. Mealy and I were very much in favor of moving out all of the bridges, as they did not seem that they should be. And it was not until we had conversations with Mr. Kohler, our bridge superintendent, that we came to understand the issues that are existing with two of those bridges, why we eventually wound up looking at keeping those in the project. So I think he can shed a lot of light on this. I understand that there is the element of, if science conflicts, you need more science. We have the person who was there while these earlier tests were done, and he can better explain the problems and the dangers that those bridges pose that are not as obvious, since a lot of the troubles that were found back then were simply covered up. So to that extent, he can address that.
Now? Okay, so can it happen now?
Well, actually, as soon as you
Say goodbye?
No, we're not rushing. Take your
Complete
time.
public
as soon
comment.
as you see
Just since
the
we're on a
microphone.
roll, that's what I'm thinking.
Well, I appreciate your concerns. I spent an hour on Little Creek Road this weekend, driving up and down and having the hardest time counting to 5, because those bridges are so close to each other that I kept passing
Right.
one of them, not realizing that I had passed the bridge. But I think Mr. Kohler can shed some light on this
Okay,
Right.
at today's meeting.
thank you. I guess that's it for now. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Before we move on, we have Tom Kohler is here to address the bridges, so we can, if you wouldn't mind bringing him up now also.
Instead of finish.
Well, because he's going to be talking about specifically the two bridges that they were talking about. And then, to that end, on courtesy of the floor, Mary Alice did not see the courtesy of the floor thing, it said public comment, and she would like to address council.
Now
As-
or later?
During public, no. So we just ask if anyone has anything further.
Okay. All right, so that wraps up our public comment. Does anybody have anything further to discuss? Oh, please.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
I'm Mary Alice Einfalt. I'm the accounting manager here at the county. And prior to the meeting, Dave handed out a handout to you guys that you can take a look at. But in the meantime, I just wanted to kind of give you a summary of what it is.
The fiscal reporting.
What the county is proposing is that we transition the accounting function from the GPA into the county's financial accounting software. And the first page of this handout kind of summarizes why we think it's a good idea. And then the second page goes into more details of specifics of what we would transition. We ran into a lot of problems this year end because of the P3 project and the impact that it had to the GPA. We now need to report our financial statements a little differently than we had done in the past. It was some significant changes. It ran into a lot of additional external audit costs for the GPA and significantly delayed the publishing of the county financial statements. So the first section gets into the financial accounting software and the experienced accounting staff currently in place with the GPA. And then the second bullet, or the second point, is the cost savings that would occur to the GPA. And then on the second page, like I said, I go into the details of the specifics of what we would transition and how we would do it from the GPA into the county.
And this would eliminate the, let's just say, controversy, if not problems we had
Yeah,
getting this.
it would, it would eliminate that delay that we had in publishing the financial statements. It would eliminate the need for the GPA to go out to get an external auditor to approve the financial statements, which was Jeff Weiss this year. It would eliminate a lot of the work that your external auditor had to do, Debbie Borger from Riley, from Riley and Company. She had to do a lot of extra work this year. And a lot of that work could be assumed by the county fiscal staff.
And am I correct that because of the P3 now, we are kind of
Without getting
married?
into a lot of details that would, accounting technical details, what the GPA is now what we call a blended component unit versus a discretely disclosed component unit. And what that means is we report the GPA just like any other major fund. We report all the same schedules, just general fund's a major fund, CYF is a major fund, and now GPA is considered a major fund. So what that means is the GPA now has to report fund level financial statements, entity-wide financial statements, a lot of journal entries that were not required in the past, capital assets, depreciation, all that stuff is
and
now.
who makes these requirements that
The
we have to-
Government Accounting Standards Board.
So under cost savings, you have this transition would significantly reduce the annual audit and special engagement fees. What's a significant reducing?
I haven't seen Debbie Borger's bill, but I know she had special engagement fees that she had planned to charge for 2018 to review the accounting books of the GPA quarterly.
Mhm.
Right now, GPA is using Quicken. Because of the P3 project, the GPA is outgrown Quicken.
Right.
It can't handle what's now required by the Government Accounting Standards Board. So as a result of that, Debbie had to do a lot of the work. So all that work that was done by Debbie, your external auditor, the GPA's external auditor, would now be done by the county fiscal staff.
Okay.
Just so the board knows, this email had been sent out previously, but unfortunately, I don't think any of the members here probably received it. So, and Mary Alice is absolutely correct. It was kind of a nightmare going through the audit process this year, but we got great support from Mary Alice. I think Debbie Border did a good job. I think it's a good idea, and I would support it from my point of view because the county's been great to work with. That's just my opinion.
Can I ask a question, just to clarify from
Absolutely.
a historical perspective? So prior to the bridge project, there was no need to merge, and they could have
Exactly.
separate, and so it's because of this project that we need the extra?
Yeah, exactly.
And so that, is it RKL, are they the auditors, or?
RKL is our external auditor, is the county's external auditor.
So would they then be the auditor on this
They
project, or
wouldn't
was somebody
have
else?
to be. That would be up to the GPA to decide, but what I would.
Still have a separate auditor.
Yeah,
Okay.
the GPA will still need an external audit done, and who you choose to have do it is up to the GPA.
But this would make the accounting easier.
It would make
Right.
the accounting easier, and it would reduce your external audit fees.
No, it's historic.
The GPA's external audit fees. And it would get the statements published in a timely manner. This year, the county had to request an extension from the GFOA for our financial statements because they were a month late because of all the problems that we went through.
So this is for review now and for vote next month, is that correct?
That's up to the board.
I
mean,
think,
it-
yeah, I think we could take this up next month.
Right.
I'd like to,
I
Because
just
Mary
wanted
Alice
to
and I
give you a
talked
brief
about that.
overview, kind of walk through
Oh,
what
At
I'm
least this
proposing
gave you some
here.
background and some information regarding
But
it.
if you have any questions in the meantime, don't hesitate to reach out.
okay. And we'd be able to reach out and bother you on this issue?
Yes,
as-
that would be fine.
Fantastic.
I would encourage it.
Thank
Okay?
you.
Sure, you're welcome.
I would definitely encourage contacting Mary Alice and
Thank you. Can we check him? He said he lost, I just got a message that he lost sound during one of the speakers.
Right. He can,
Did you lose him or you still have him?
We gotta call him back, right?
do we have to call him back? Do we have a number for him, or? Okay. I see it.
Hello?
Hi there, we seem to have lost you.
Okay, yep.
We have you back.
All right, we're going to get into the P3 project.
Mr. Kohler first, right?
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, Mr. Kohler?
Somebody lost a pen. Which bridges do we want to discuss first up there?
That would be 195 and 41.
Okay, we also going to address Bridge 215 on Rasley Hill Road as well. It's up in that area, or is there no concerns?
That's actually, I think that bridge is already into development, so I think
Okay.
that,
All right, I'll start with Bridge 195 then, because that was that's the one I think everybody's talking about, whether it's 1 lane or 2 lane. And I really don't have any care in the world, so to speak. If it's 1 lane, 2 lanes, 10 lanes, whatever makes the people happy, I'm happy with. That bridge is also one of these concrete encased steel beam bridges. It's unknown what that steel is like underneath there. I will tell you, back in 2004, when Hurricane Ivan came through, we almost lost that bridge to the flooding. As I'm sure the residents up there are aware how the creek comes in, the bridge sits, and the creek comes in on a hard 90. It used to come in fairly good at the bridge. It's getting beyond the bridge and almost starts to come back. If you see all the riprap there, the county had to put that in there to stabilize the embankment, the bridge, and the road. And also the abutment, I guess it'd be considered the east side, the lower end towards the Martins Creek side, had scoured out. We had to have Walker Diving and WH Street come down from New Jersey, come in, put grout bags in to stabilize the bridge, or that bridge would have been lost. So that bridge there is on very shallow footings. That's why, I'm pretty sure that's why this one is on the list to be
It's on the list
replaced.
for replacement.
For replacement.
Right.
Bridge 41.
Well, let's just go back to that.
Okay.
You're replacing it with what type of bridge?
It's gonna be,
1 lane, 2
I'm
lane?
assuming everything's gonna be precast. I do not know, that's up
Yeah,
to
that-
that's
that
up
one's
to
up-
GPI and Krieger to design what they're doing. I have nothing to do with
yeah,
any of this.
I think Fanish could better answer that.
Okay.
But that's part of one of the pitfalls to this P3 project is we don't have very much say in how
Yeah,
they're
you're right.
designed. We're just
You're right.
here to be a conduit to pay the bills.
This is about the most important I've had on on this project since it started. I don't have any idea how this list came about. I was scratching my head on some of the bridges that are on this list. I think there should be some on it that aren't. There should be some that are that shouldn't. Yeah, we've all debated that. We all agree to that. Now, Bridge 41, to address Mr. Leggett's issues. Sir, how many years have you been up there? Okay, so you may recall about a quarter century ago, 25 years ago or so.
When they did the concrete.
When we did all the concrete, okay. When all that shotcrete was removed on there, on all those beams, we found R2 and R3 rust. Now, according to the Fed and the state and everybody else, some people understand what the different levels are. That's very light, this is somewhat moderate rusting of the steel beams. It was cleaned off, wire mesh was all reinstalled, and the entire bridge was shotcreted again, supposedly protected. Now, the steel is not coated with any like primer or anti-corrosives or anything like that. None of them bridges ever were. Just like the old steel rebars and a lot of the older bridges were never coated. It's been a quarter century. Nobody knows what the condition of that steel is. I looked up the bridge inspection reports, and I gotta agree with Mr. Leggett here on something. I don't know how PennDOT comes up with their numbers as sufficiency ratings, because I did see the same thing as what, 71, 72, whatever it is. But if you go into line item notes about the stringers the abutments, the deck. It gets slammed verbally about having efflorescence, which is chlorides and silicate in the concrete, which is corrosive to steel. And it addresses a lot of issues in there, but yet their sufficiency rating is kind of high. So they're telling us the bridge is okay, but in the notes, and if you look at it, there's issues there. And you can see it, and they address about cracking in the abutments. I do know it was about 10 or 12 years ago, we had milled the old bituminous overlay off. That should be a concrete deck, and it's blacktopped over. The concrete on top of that deck is soft. Now, whether that goes all the way through to full depth, I do not know. The only way to do it is to take core samples. The county, we put a membrane down, we overlaid it, and that's where it was at. And that's where those bridges are at. Now, how they came about the list, I do not know. I do know with reviewing the list and once it was given to me, I think just about, I would say almost a third, if not maybe half the bridges that are on that list are of the concrete encased steel beam types, which means somebody was given information somewhere that they're having issues, because I don't understand why else some of them would be coming out. We have had issues in the past with them. A few we haven't had that were replaced, but some we have, with the steel being highly corroded. It's anybody's guess what's going on with that thing. And the only way to find out is take all that concrete off, check every single beam, and you're probably talking $100,000 or more to do all that work. Easy. Plus you're going to need DEP permits because now you're over the water and everything else, and that's going to delay stuff.
Tom, question. We spoke this morning in passing, you and I. Is there degrees of failure for these bridges, or could it just fail and be done with it?
You can't see the steel, so we're not going to know until maybe something happens. Unfortunately, I think as we were talking about bring up another subject, down the Meadows, which was part of the P3 project. That was a masonry arch bridge. Within 3 weeks, we went from having no cracks in it to almost an imminent failure. I had emergency close the bridge, and the bridge it's basically teetering. These steel beams you can't see. I'm not saying it's going to collapse. I'm not trying to scare anybody or anything like that. But without having any way of seeing it, it's anybody's guess what the condition is.
Can I ask some questions?
Absolutely.
As the least knowledgeable of bridges, but I'm having PTSD listening to you. So it sounds like there's different standards to review these bridges. You're saying you don't know how PennDOT gets theirs. I'm hearing different sufficiency ratings.
PennDOT
Is there one similar
PennDOT does
standard?
their inspections, they keep their notes, they give different ratings in different categories for different parts of the bridge. It's all fed into some computer system they got out there, and it spits out the overall sufficiency rating of their bridge.
So there's not one
There's not one.
universal standard of how to rate the safety or functionality of these bridges
Well,
anywhere?
that's what their guessing is, so to speak. I mean, I wish I could be more straight honest with you.
No, you are.
I have no
asking.
clue what they put into their system and how the computer spits stuff out. Like Mr. Leggett says, at one time they had a 40 rating. I'll almost guarantee that's going back to when we had that work done 20, 25 years ago. Before the work was done. Now they see the new work, but we also know the past history. So, you know, it is what it is. It's a guess. Like I said, how they ever came up with this list, though, I do not know.
And do you interface with Krieger and Benish on this project and on these bridges?
The
Again, 'cause I'm new.
administration's asked me to go out, keep an eye on things. I try to put regular updates on my Facebook page with the Northampton County to keep the people and the residents updated, which they seem to love. So I've been doing that. But as far as technical stuff goes, I'm not involved. I'm not involved in any way, shape, or form.
And my last question is, in terms of the folks here are requesting that these have this similar one-lane integrity, is that a reasonable request? And when I say reasonable, I mean because of the laws, because of PennDOT's regulations, because I don't want to promise something that we can't deliver. So while they're making that request, can they stay one lane?
I know PennDOT always harps, now that's when we're using their funds, is everything's got to be brought up to state and federal standards. Here we're not using their funds. It's county money. Now, will PennDOT come back and possibly say something? I do not know. I can't answer that truthfully because never really run into this issue before. Anybody ever requesting a one-lane bridge be put back in? Never come across it, never had it. I'm not sure what the GPA.
Well, Lori, just so I understand, when you say when we promise something, it's not the GPA promising, right?
No, I'm saying I don't want anybody to promise something that can't
County
be
or
delivered.
GPA, you mean?
Either.
Right.
Well,
I mean,
Because
I
I
don't
hear-
think the GPA can promise anything.
Right.
Well,
But I
when-
hear people making
When the
requests.
former GPA organization here started writing up things with Krieger and GPI, I'm not sure how that writing is in there, if they have to follow PennDOT criteria or not. I would assume they are.
It appears, and I've gone over this different ways, it appears that all design functions are GPIs and Kriegers. It's not something that the county or
No, but what I'm saying
GPA
is,
has any.
are they mandatory to follow PennDOT criteria,
Their
their standards, so to speak?
It's very clearly an expectation, but the design, in a case for like or whatnot, is really left to them in the contract documents.
So that's maybe something the board here is going to have to address with GPI and Krieger then, and have a discussion with them.
Tom, I'm sorry, how long have you been with the Bridge Division for the county?
Since '84.
And in your opinion, the sufficiency ratings aren't really indicative of what's going on with these bridges in a lot of cases?
I don't totally always agree with them if you know some of the past history on them. Because what happens is Michael Baker, which is a world-renowned company who does a lot of bridge inspection stuff for PennDOT, they actually run the educational program on behalf of PennDOT in many of the states in the country. They come from Beaver Falls, so it's independent eyes looking at the bridge. But the only notes they see, or the history they see, is from the last bridge inspection report. Well, like a lot of these bridges up here only take an hour or two to do an inspection. They're only here that time frame. They have no clue of maintenance records because naturally they're not involved with it. They have no clue of flood history or anything like that. These bridges up here, not even the bridge inspection reports that I've ever seen, state that there's grout bags and stuff like that under it because we almost lost them in floods in the past, which would really slam some of the ratings on some of these bridges.
So what you're saying is if we paint the bridge really nicely, we can get a better sufficiency rating?
Well, I think some of the residents here are probably going to remember many years ago, Bridge 43 was still on the list for PennDOT, and an independent engineer came in named Abbott Lichtenstein, and he came up with the crazy idea of painting the bridge bright yellow for visibility reasons. Now we're here scrutinizing a new concrete bridge being put in. Could you imagine a school bus yellow bridge sitting there? That's what he proposed.
I don't imagine that would be...
Yeah, everybody in the county laughed at that one. And at that time, that was to be funded by the state of Pennsylvania, and the county walked away from it.
Well, thank God for that. Yellow bridge. All right.
Any other questions?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You just let him.
Not supposed to. Must be recognized from the floor.
We allow him since he's going to be opinions anyway.
Yes, Mr. Leggett.
May I address Lori's concerns about the PennDOT? Jason Snyder, who's a PennDOT engineer, bridge inspector, has reviewed the documents and is prepared to come down and review the bridges again. He's been authorized by PennDOT and funded by PennDOT to support this because of his concerns about this bridge and the misallocation of replacing bridges with high sufficiency ratings and ignoring bridges with low sufficiency ratings that really are a danger. And he can explain that stuff to you, and I can put you in contact with him if you'd like to ask those questions separately, but he has, is fully in support, PennDOT is fully in support of the issues that we've raised.
You just send it to the representative. I'm sorry, right behind you was Tom again.
I think a lot of people are reading too much into some of these sufficiency ratings. And the only reason I'm going to say this, and I'm not trying to get in an argument with anybody, is if anybody here recalls the old North Catasauqua, Hockendackle Bridge that was recently replaced, if there's only one bridge between Northampton and Lehigh Counties, that bridge was rated a 2 out of a 100. And it was open to the bay, they closed it for construction. Now, something that's rated a 2, to me, should have been closed many moons ago, and it wasn't. So I don't buy the theory of, I understand where the people are coming from. I don't fully vest 100% in what the sufficiency ratings tell me. I read the notes or the inspector reports and what I've seen in the past.
Thank you.
I'm not agreeing whether it's got to be replaced or not, I'm just stating what I know.
All right. Thank you very much.
Can I make a comment? I have the operations report right here. And it says nothing about painting anything else.
Okay, that was an anecdote, has nothing to do with the actual what's staying and what's going.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman, and I know you came in with me, so you might have to defer it, but because of your position, I'm gonna give it to you.
Thanks, brother.
So we're hearing a lot of bridges that should be, bridges that shouldn't be, and I'm still not understanding, that really isn't for the GPA, correct?
That's my
Those
understanding also.
reports should have to
Right.
go to the county council, and county council will take them off, add
No,
and
no,
remove.
actually, no,
right?
that
No,
goes
it's
to Public
reversed.
Works.
Public Works.
Right.
Okay.
No, not according to the contract. In
Okay.
the contract that you're under, the only person that can write a change order other than the developer is the GPA. So you
But-
do get to make those decisions.
Well, my understanding is the change order comes from us because we're funneling the money, but the directive has to come from the other department, correct?
No, that's not the word.
All right, so what's going to happen is we're going to be appointing an authorized representative, and, that person can coordinate everything instead of just back and forth in the audience. So thank you.
But I think it does, I think at some point, since we are mostly new, we need to get very, very clear about who does what and how, because that seemed to be the big mess that landed us all here.
Absolutely.
So going forward, I think we need to be 100% about who does what when.
I mean, to get
So that it
started, we
doesn't
can get
ping pong.
A copy of the contract to our solicitor to review,
Right, but the authorized representative will be coordinating all that.
God bless him, or her.
or
God bless.
her. Or her.
I see Becky Bartlett out there.
Okay, Becky could be the
All right,
representative.
anything else? Greg? Good. Thank you. Greg, give us the update, please.
Here comes the fun part.
Morning.
Good morning.
I assume you all got my update that I submitted last week? I have some extra copies if you didn't.
Yeah, I did.
Is this it?
All right, so I'll start with bridges under construction. So Bridge 202 was open to traffic on July 9th. Bridge 227 was open to traffic on July 23rd. There are still some punch list items remaining that I've come up with and given to Krieger. Bridge 205 is being paved as we speak. They were working on it yesterday and paving it today. So that should be open in the next, I'd say, 2 weeks or so. So far, at least from the bridges they started, everything is going well. There's 3 more bridges under construction right now. Bridges 189, 191, and 66. All 3 of them had delays from Med-Ed. Well, I'm sorry, 189 and 191 had delays from Med-Ed, and 66 had a delay from Verizon. So there's been some utility coordination that's been going on with those. If it wasn't for the delays from utilities, I'm very confident that 2 of those probably would have been done already. So they're where Krieger is really working as hard as they can, and as Charles, Mike, and I have been talking on a regular basis to try and get these utilities moving. Mike and Charles have spoke with Med-Ed, quite a bit, and all of us, I guess, have really been speaking with Med-Ed quite a bit just to get them moving out there. So that's really been the holdup as far as Krieger is going. But they are moving as expected, and there have not been any major issues out in construction. So as far as construction is going, things are going very well. As far as right-of-way is concerned, all the 2018 bridges are cleared. There are 2 remaining that Mike Corriere and Mike Emili worked on getting those cleared, so those are all good to go from that, and all the easements have been signed. Bridge 124 is a bridge, Willowbrook Road. Myself, Mike Emili, Charles, and Link Treadwell had a meeting here at the county to talk about the next steps on that one. The county is going to be working on a change order to get GPI and Krieger started for a 3-lane bridge. So there's 2 lanes per the contract, and the township would like a 3rd lane added.
No, Greg, if I could stop you there. Do we know where we are with GPI as far as putting together pricing to present to East Allen?
Yeah,
Allen,
they were waiting for a change order from the GPA to get started. That's what that's for.
Okay, so we need to, the GPA would need to direct them to do so at this point?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep. And they're willing to get started once they receive that. As far as milestone payments are concerned, the next one is due August 31st to Krieger for $1,875,000. They are, as we discussed our last status meeting, they are on target for that. So you'll probably be seeing more information about it. They send a letter, is how it works. I have to approve the letter and give it to the authorized representative, then discusses it with all of you. So you should be seeing that in the next few weeks coming through. As far as upcoming schedule, I have in here, what the next goals are. So besides the three that I talked about, 189, 191, 66, 63 will also be coming up soon, as well as two other bridges, one including a rehab to be done in 2018. So as long as the weather cooperates and utilities cooperate, I see no issues with what Krieger's doing. GPI has also been on schedule, giving us regular updates. I talk to them probably every day. We met with DEP a few weeks ago to go through the next round of GP11 applications being submitted, and they're going to start to be sending us some more conceptual designs for the next few bridges. And one thing I'll throw out there too, I know there was a question about prevailing wage. So I asked John Lucius, I guess it was back in May now, if we kept the same prevailing wage throughout the contract. Because when I was getting the certified payrolls, I just wanted to, before I submit them to Sean and Mike, I want to make sure that was true. And yes, we keep the same prevailing wage for the length of the contract.
Understood. All right. So certified payroll, do we have that yet?
Yep.
Okay.
They've been.
Or actually, who has it?
I give them to Sean and Mike Amelie. So I've been
Sean
Langen.
Probably shouldn't do that anymore.
Correct. so I assume that Mike Amelie's in the county's been reviewing them. That's typically how the process works.
I'll have to coordinate that with the bridge coordinator or authorized rep.
And I can send
Okay.
those all to you if whoever wants to
Absolutely.
see
Yeah. So the issue, the prevailing rate issue, is just that it's throughout the whole project. That's all.
correct. It's just a question I asked.
Just seems like an awful lot of phone calls between you and Mr. Lucius, or Benish and Mr. Lucius. That's all. That our solicitor will look into.
Yeah, we talked quite a bit on various different legal issues that went on because I can't answer those questions. So.
It seems so that you do talk a lot with him, and we're charged by the minute. So not through you. So again, we're on project. P3's on project.
Yeah.
There's nothing holding us back or anything upholding
Well,
the project.
The
on
challenge has
schedule.
been utilities. That's been the
Yeah,
challenge.
we've had challenges with utilities, with things not starting on necessarily time. At this point in the project, we were planned to have how many bridges done before the milestone?
It's supposed to be five for the milestone.
5 for this
For the
upcoming
field August
milestone?
31st, correct, 5, including Bridge 157 from last year.
From last year,
Okay.
and we'll be close to that.
All right, good. And there's no problems with right of way apparently.
No,
Clear?
that's,
Okay.
Everything's
my
clear.
hat's off to
Mr. Mealy?
Mr. Corriere and Mr. Barron's executive assistant, who's been really getting out on the bricks, making this happen, so.
Mr. Elliott's also been helping us as
Yeah,
well from the
that's
county.
Mr. Elliott.
Correct.
Do you have any other questions?
There's one last thing I'd like to discuss as well, too. In the past few months, we've been looking at our budget and some of the additional tasks we've been doing. And I've told Charles and Mike Amelia, Ray, we've been beyond our scope on a fairly few items that I've written up and typed up together. I can send them all to you as well, asking for how much more time we may need on this project. Our opinion is we don't want to have anything stop because of out of scope items, et cetera. As I've said in the past, this project's going to keep moving. It's not going to stop because of me, obviously. So I typed up a list, and I can send it to you. It's only an addition of a few hours per week is what it was. It's about 8 hours per week for one person is what we've seen for the length of the project. And I can email that to all of you so you can review it.
Why not just cut down on our telephone conversations with Lucius?
Well, he's not the solicitor, so I'll
Right.
talk to him.
Our solicitor doesn't seem as talkative, so appreciate that. Thank you, Greg. Anything else? Mark, anything else? Nope, he's there.
He appears to be.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks.
Hey, thank you, Greg.
Mark?
Yeah, he's yeah, that's what it is.
So that means it's in call.
Oh, you
Guy's
yeah,
not
you
there.
got it. All right, next item is the status of the GPA authorized representative. We need to appoint a new authorized representative. Do we have a motion?
Well, no, I have a question
Young.
first.
Okay.
So is this going to be a fee-for-service position? Because apparently it was in the past, unbeknownst to all of us. So this is a person who's going to represent this board without a fee and without being paid?
Man, I'm assuming so.
Well, I think
I-
we are the
I
board,
believe
so I
it-
think
I
we
believe-
have to decide.
I
so.
believe that was found to be highly questionable beforehand, so.
The
not-
only reason I'm bringing up things that seem elementary are because apparently they were not so in the past, and they got muddied. And so I think we have to state at the onset that there will be no fee for service for this position. Is that correct? Do we agree?
Entirely.
I'm in agreement with that.
I'm looking at my solicitor, I guess.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, if that's what the board wants. I'm not aware that fee is required or provided for.
And I actually even think it's not necessarily appropriate, so,
Okay, so we're all in agreement.
yes.
Then I make a motion to appoint, we have to appoint someone?
Go ahead, make the motion, Lord.
Charles, do you want to be the authorized GPA representative?
Well, sure, I've actually been attending the meeting straight through already, so.
Okay, so then why don't we nominate and approve Charles?
All right, so there's a motion to appoint Charles Dertinger as the authorized representative of the GPA.
No pay.
And at no extra pay.
I gave him a protein bar.
No money for you.
All right. Any questions on that motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Passed unanimous.
Charles doesn't lie,
If I see you driving a different car, I'm going to call you.
Charles, you'll be talking.
Yeah, I'm going to try that, yeah, something new. To that end, and
ahead.
in what Greg had talked about, we also need a motion to direct GPI to undertake one of the frustrations in this project has been, and it really is the mechanism by which this project was set up. We don't have a costing out for anything. If you were to ask someone how much a particular bridge costs, there is no godly way to know. And perhaps, I shouldn't say that, there's perhaps only a godly way to know. Maybe through some level of prayer you could find out without actually asking, or for us directing GPI to do a costing for this, which is what we specifically have to do with Bridge 124 to get them to move forward. To this point, the Allen Township solicitor, as Greg pointed out, we met with Mike Amelie, myself, and their solicitor to discuss what could be done, because Rockefeller does have a developer's agreement to provide a third lane. And there was a lot of rumor, misgiving, mistakes made in getting to this point. Now that we're there, we still want to hold, as does Allen Township, to hold Rockefeller to the point of following their developer's agreement. And one of those ways would be to give them the opportunity from Krieger to see what a change order would be to add a third lane. We would need GPI to break out the cost that is associated with that bridge, what the cost would be for both the improvements of that bridge as well as the engineering and other permits, because that would now require different permits. We're not replacing like for like. We are replacing a bridge that would be wider and different than what was existing. So there is engineering work that needs to be done before they can tell us, to tell the county, to tell Allen Township, to tell Rockefeller what the cost would be for them to set those monies aside. So I'd like to offer a motion to direct GPI to do just that as a change order from,
And that was Bridge 124.
and that's for Bridge 124 in
All right, there's the
Willowbrook
motion.
Road.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any further questions on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
And on that same subject, we have a number of bridges that we had discussed. Much as Tom had mentioned, there are moments where he was just simply scratching his head wondering pass these down, how some of these bridges got onto the project. In our progress meeting, we had discussed not moving forward with several of these bridges because time is unfortunately of the essence there. For that matter, the folks along Little Creek Road will still see people moving forward on the permitting, although we're looking to abandon in this round, or in this P3, 3 of the bridges on Little Creek Road, and those bridges being Northampton County Bridge 43, 44, and 185. Additionally, we looked over the reports and the information that we had from both the state as well as for trying something new. We actually spoke to the superintendent of bridges to get his input and felt that Bridge 139 and 212 could also be removed. So we would ask that Krieger and GPI prepare a cost breakout to remove those bridges. One of the bridges that was scheduled to be replaced, when the discussion about this bridge came out, as you can see, Tom is very free with his opinions. He pointed out that that was not just a waste of money; it was a waste of effort. It was not a bridge that needed to be replaced, and he, for the life of him, could not figure out how it got on the list. There is some things that need to be done there, and we would like that to be a cost breakout for a rehabilitation instead of a replacement.
What number is that again?
That would be Bridge 219.
Okay.
That's the second paragraph there. And then there are 2 bridges, very specifically the Bridge 228 along Nancy Run, Middletown Road, Nancy Run Creek there, as well as Bridge 225 that could be either swapped in for one of these other bridges or added to the circumstances. And below you'll see a breakout of specifically each one of these bridges, but before Krieger and GPI will consider this, although they have stopped progress on the 3 bridges along Little Creek based on our conversations, they need direction from us to stop, to actually break these out and to allow us an opportunity to see what makes sense in taking these out. So again, I would offer that as a motion to,
Well, really, it's a motion for this whole page.
to direct them to
Right.
give us a breakout for the 5 bridges on top, the change for the 1, and then what it would take to add or swap in the other 2.
And you do that in form of a motion? That's your motion?
That is my motion.
Thank you. Charles, second?
I have it electronically for you.
Any other questions on that motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Charles.
That's subject to,
Well, now
Your
they have to come
approval?
back to us and give us a cost breakout. We have no idea what the costs are associated with these bridges at all, so there's no way that we can move forward in any reasonable way to say, okay, yes or no. So that's where we are with that. Yeah, many times. That's how we got started on removing the 3.
Thank you, Charles.
Time to ask the same questions about 31 and 41?
30, well, we have no, other than your comments here today, we have no new information. We dealt with our
31's close.
31 is actually very comfortably, Mr. McClure has been working diligently to get that placed on the tip rather than being paid for in regular county money, to be paid for by the federal transportation plan. And we are very confident at this point that even though the tip had been more or less closed, it will be an amendment moving forward. So that 32 is something that's being addressed. 32 is, as you point out, the alternate I'm sorry, 31, I keep doing that. 31 is the alternate access route and is available or can be approached from the other, from Lower Mount Bethel Highway, so, Belvedere Highway. So,
Can you give us a time frame on that at all?
we cannot at this time, as we're still working to get it finalized as an amendment.
And if it fails?
We are confident that it will not fail. We haven't been working from the standpoint of if it fails. We've been pretty successful in moving things forward, as you saw with Bridge 15 being placed on the tip afterwards as well.
And 41?
41 is, as was expressed by our bridge superintendent, the only thing that you're looking at there is essentially a really nice shotcrete job on top of old 1946 steel. The bridge was rated or originally designed to be a 20-ton bridge, so it's every element about it is something that makes it a candidate for this P3 project.
Except for the fact that PennDOT says it does not.
PennDOT is looking at the shotcrete job that was done 25 years ago. We have to move on.
All right, we're going to move forward. Thank you, Charles. New business.
All right, under new business, I think one of the frustrations that county council had, as well as everyone who was watching, that the GPA was engaging to sue the county or had an outside secondary solicitor at $40,000. I'd like to make a motion that we suspend or, moreover, discontinue the services of Conrad O'Brien, get an accounting for where they are at this point, and have all monies that have been given to them.
They have ceased their relationship as of July 31st.
Really?
Huh.
Was there a notification on that?
Yeah, I thought we didn't put it in.
Yeah, it wasn't put in the packet.
I'll send it out to everybody. No, we received a letter from them.
They fired us?
No, they just said that, they said
Wow.
they had completed their work at this point.
Well, since we didn't get that letter, can we move forward with it?
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's
Well-
move forward since we didn't get it.
Yeah, just, I
Is that
guess,
a prudent
as-
course of action? Wait,
Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with that. I think it'd be nice to see the letter.
No.
yeah,
I'll send it out there. It's not a problem.
but as a point of
I would
certain,
move forward.
yeah.
I would, did we second that?
I'll
'Cause I'll
second
second it.
I'll second it. Or she'll second it, she'll second
Let
it.
Lori second.
There's a
Yeah,
motion.
My turn.
For the minutes, Lori second.
All right, there's a motion on the table to terminate our relationship with Conrad O'Brien.
And receive all monies that are not expended back or an accounting for what has been expended.
What, did we agree that we were
This-
going
So
to
in the-
audit
in
and
the one
account?
bill, you will see that they took the $10,000.
Yes, the retainer.
that they're paying as the retainer and
Yes.
took it off the bill.
Well, I assume I'm to look at their bills as well.
Absolutely. But that's in the packet.
All right.
Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
One quick comment, Dave, when you were out in the hallway, we mentioned, could you get a copy of the P3 contract to our solicitor? Sure. Thank you.
Yeah, if you have a minute, I'd like to talk to you after the meeting.
Yeah, I'd like to talk to you and to Charlie and to Tina.
All right, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Anything on
I
Conrad
know that I
O'Brien?
just missed this. I also have this is going to come up on the next progress meeting, and I get beaten up quite a bit for things not being done, but seeing as the GPA hadn't met for 2 months, this was also missed. I have from our solicitor, and I'm going to ask I have two different hats. The county solicitor, a quick claim deed for the taking back for Bridge 15. I'll pass it off to you guys so you have an opportunity to see this, and at the next meeting, if it is found to be sufficient by our GPA solicitor, I'd like to move forward to actually complete the process of removing Bridge 15 from the P3 project. Just a report, not a
Right.
motion.
Okay, just a report, so
I
we
gave you
will
that, yeah.
address this next meeting. All right, Charles, thank you.
Now I'll try and be quiet.
I'll talk fast. We need the appointment of an open records officer. Any discussion on
What
that?
is that?
It's like when you get right to know, and the former officer had been John Lucius. DCED recommends that you nominate Tina, and then if there's any issues that come up, to work with the solicitor. You know, if anything needs to be redacted or anything like that, you know, she obviously would go to you right away.
I'll make a motion to appoint Tina.
Question, is this a paid position?
I was going to say that. How much are you charging a minute?
No, she's already paid.
Part of the services of the administrative services agreement with.
We appreciate that, thank you.
$320 a minute.
Frank made the motion, was there a second?
Sure, I'll second it.
All right, a motion on the table to
be
appoint
quick to beat
Tina
Frank.
as the open records officer. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nobody's opposed. Motion carries. Thank you, Tina.
And I guess I have a question or clarification on it. I keep seeing references to privileged communication here with GPA, so at some point, maybe this is a conversation you and I can have, but we're a public authority, so what is privileged and what is not? Is there?
That's one of the issues
Yeah,
we need to discuss.
There could be a number of things that are not subject to disclosure based on exceptions. Could be, for example, material that is in work progress that is not ready for decision. Could be attorney-client, communication. Could be some other, sensitive matters. I mean, an organization like this, most of it's going to be public, but there are definitely exceptions that will come into play and have to be reviewed. And in fact, we have a lawyer in our office who basically is dedicated pretty much all to open records, and so we're very familiar with it. I wouldn't suspect that we'd see a great deal of problem here. I wouldn't suspect that you had a great deal of issues in the past on open records. Something like, public hospital or a school district or something like that, where there are lots of confidentiality issues, gets a little bit more complicated.
But we could expect to see much more transparency and open communication on this board with reason?
I would certainly hope so.
Okay. Just trying to be reasonable.
Item under new business, an RFP for our GPA solicitor. There's an attached RFP that,
That's a sample of the RFP we had used before,
Mhm.
and it's probably been like 3 years. North McLaughlin had been, if they would have completed the end of this year, would have been 3 years, and we just feel as though on some type of a regular basis, we should go out with an RFP, and particularly since we've assigned an interim, we should have a full-time solicitor.
Do we need a motion for this to be put forward?
well, before that, has this been reviewed? I'm assuming, you're saying it's about 3 years old?
Mhm.
Okay.
We should review it first, right? Can we do it in September?
Yeah, because usually we'll look at the end of the year, and I think with an interim, we don't have any won't have any problems. So
Right, I'm
I
just-
think there's no urgency that has to be done right away.
Right, I'm not saying there's problems, just that it's a
Yeah,
3-year-old
before you'd have
document.
time to review it, we can talk to the, the interim
Sure.
solicitor.
And does this
about
have, because I guess we are in that time frame, does this also address P3 elements, given that P3 was not a GPA?
I don't know if there's anything specifically that covers a P3.
Okay.
But I mean,
Well,
again, we
should
can
be.
talk about that. If it needs to be added, we can add that.
All right.
Do we have in here local attorneys? I don't want any of you going to Philly for a firm.
Listen, Conrad already
I
fired us.
will-
Yeah, they fired us.
I can only tell you in the past, all the firms that were considered were from the Lehigh Valley.
All right, let's-
Anything else under new business? Motion, actually, next meeting is Tuesday, September 11th, 8:15. Okay, that'll be our next meeting. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Frank. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
See that when I say I'm going to be quiet afterwards, I do a good job of that.
Lori, Dave, did you get the sign-in sheet? Who gets the sign-in sheet?